All right. Good afternoon. Go ahead and get started giving you the updates on practice today, injury-wise. So, Sed Van Pran, Max, Khalil, Jordan Hancock, Keontae Jenkins will not practice. Tylen Grable in a similar category, being in the concussion protocol still. Alec Anderson, Curtis Samuel, Shaq, Tyler Bass, Connor McGovern, Nelson Caesar, Eddie, Cam Lewis, and Javon Solomon will be limited. So some of that means getting small amount of reps. Some of that means individual only. So with that, I'll turn it over to you with your questions.
Sean, what kind of a response do you want this week after a game that you said on Sunday night was not up to your standards?
Yeah, I mean, it's you try and separate it out, right? What's real, what's not. Really trying to identify fundamentally are we where we need to be. Who can win one-on-one matchups, who's ready to play 2 weeks from now, give or take, against the Ravens and through the season, who's ready now to do that, who might be ready down the line here and who can develop in that regard, and then who may not be ready. So you're looking for, in that game, as you pull it apart, unpack it, who can win one-on-one matchups as well and who's ready to do that and who may be able to develop that down the road here. So, but where we're at as a football team is continuing to get more and more comfortable with, and it's important with our systems, with the fundamentals that we need to execute and get on the same page with some of those other areas.
When you looked back at the film from the game, was there anything that stood out to you that wasn't immediately kind of notable when you were just watching it live? Like, what stood out on the rewatch?
Well, I saw some really good moments in the game, not reflected in the score, which is a separate conversation, but things that we can double down on that were good. Some individual fundamentals, individual efforts. So you try and go back and say, hey, let's look at those again and say, basically continue to establish the standard and establish what we need and what we're looking for, and whether it's fundamentally, execution-wise, technique-wise, understanding of the system, understanding of the scheme. So those are things we try and pull out to show the players so they can continue to get a better feel for what it is exactly we're looking for. And then these things over here are things that we can't do, in particular penalties, not knowing the system, not knowing what we're trying to get done, so on and so forth.
You have several receivers who are competing for a spot on the 53, lower on the depth chart. How do you feel about how that group has, what they've been able to show you, and how difficult was it to evaluate them just based on the way that game went in Chicago?
With the wide receiving core, we've got a number of guys, and it's really trying to figure out. I think we got a pretty good feel for, 1, 2, 3, but who's 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, who's 4, 5, 6, who's 4 and 5, is it 5 and 4 or 4 and 5, you know what I mean? So it's, once you get kind of after that third group, that third person there, it's trying to figure out who the rest of them are and how they can help us not only on offense but on special teams, and how we can ensure if we have someone, not going to go down, that we have the right person, profile, size, speed, whatever it is, to make sure we don't drop too far with that next spot. So always trying to maneuver, figure out the puzzle of the roster this time of year and the numbers and how it's going to affect special teams and vice versa.
Sean, how do you juggle a guy like Tyrell Shavers, who's been available, who's been showing you stuff, with someone like Curtis, who's been on the mend, and we haven't, even though you know his history as a player, this training camp and preseason, he hasn't been available. How do you juggle those evaluations?
Well, that's real. You try and look at everything through the truth window and say, this is what we know, this is who this player is and what they've shown us this year. You try and also look back at the history a little bit too and say, what is the history said to us and how has that spoken to us? And so you try and put it all together. It's not easy to do, and it's never always the same from one case to another, but you try and just say, what do we know right now, right, from this camp? And because sometimes that's all you can evaluate, especially when someone hasn't taken a lot of reps, whether it's Curtis or some of the other guys that have just not been able to rep to camp to this point, through camp.
Same vein with somebody like Cole. You talk about time on task and, getting guys ready. And then there's the urgency of getting ready for the season. So evaluating him and where you guys are in the preseason, where do you stand? And is there a different window for him in terms of him needing those more reps before he can truly be evaluated?
You're asking a lot there in more than one question probably, and I think there's probably more than one answer in terms of the answers to your multiple questions. And I really feel like Cole, from the time he's come back, it's just been a short runway to this point. He continues to improve. There's so many subtle things that come up, even in the practice the other day against the Bears. It looked like a good practice, and then there's a little thing here that had he not practiced, right, he would not have experienced. So that adds callous to his experience and his resume, if you will. He has shown to this point that the ability, the skill level can be there. We're just not there yet. And so his refining process, if you will, Mike, goes one day at a time, one rep at a time. And again, we're just kind of getting started because of what wasn't with his availability. Affects that. So.
Sean, how do you feel? I'm sorry. How do you feel about the position overall? I know sometimes we're in here and you talk about what Micah and Jordan meant, and it was a position we didn't really talk about a lot for years because we didn't have to. But now we seem to be doing it a lot. How do you just feel about the position?
Yeah, I think we're looking for that other safety to play alongside of T-Rapp. There's been really good moments for all those guys back there, young and some of the more veteran guys that are back there and have played for us. But I think we're still looking to find who is it going to be, right? And how consistent can they become, and how quickly can they grow if they're a younger player? And so you're always looking to figure that other piece out. Right now for us, we know who T-Rapp is. We know what he brings to the table. It's what other piece can go along with T-Rapp.
Sean, when it comes to, do you have a follow-up?
I did just on Jordan Hancock. You mentioned him as a player who's not available. I know he was playing safety snaps and nickel snaps for you guys. But what is the kind of like prognosis? Is that more of a short-term injury or something that you think could kind of leak for a couple weeks?
Don't know yet. I think the early projection, if you will, is may not make the game this weekend. So I thought he flashed in the game the other night a little bit. Still a lot of work to do. But now he's sidelined, so it's we're kind of on a stop right now with that. So
We haven't had a real update on Khalil. Going on 3 weeks. Just what's the timetable prognosis on him? And he's not had any setbacks.
No setbacks. I saw him this morning. Had a good conversation in the hallway with him this morning, and he continues to rehab and. The best, we didn't take him on the trip this past weekend because it's best with our resources here for him to stay here and rehab. So no change to his schedule. He continues to rehab, and the goal is to get him back as soon as possible, whether that's, the end of this week, beginning of next, somewhere next week. It remains to be seen.
You think you'll be able to have Tyler Bass kick on Saturday?
I hope so. That's the goal. We have a schedule that's been laid out with his rehab as well, and he's going to inch forward this week. That's the vision for T-Bass, including today, tomorrow, kicking on the side, not with the team, but starting Thursday, if all goes well, according to plan, he will kick with the team and then hopefully going into the game this week.
Hey, Sean, what's the ramping up process looking like for Maxwell Harrison and so he's off crutches and everything?
Yeah, still a ways away. Just from what I heard yesterday from Nate, is really trying to still get a feel for exactly what we're dealing with in terms of when we can start to, push a little bit more without affecting his, the healing of it. So probably more medical than I'm certified to describe. But I get the vibe that we are moving in the right direction. There's just not a lot of clarity on the back half of it at this point.
You, obviously, we've seen DeMar for many years in that safety room. Cole making his pursuit. The one guy that we just have started to see is Derek Forrest. What have you seen from him over the course of this summer, and how much is he kind of in the mix there and competing for maybe that spot.
Yeah, everyone's still in competition. I think that's the best way to approach it, right? There's a lot of players over the years who have come on incrementally, and then that last preseason game, they really blossom. And so I've just learned over the years not to sell anybody short and say, oh, they're not going to make it, right? But that's true for anybody on our roster. So what I've seen from Defoe is continued improvement and continued understanding of what we're doing, and whether it's defense in this case or special teams. So I feel good about him, and I look forward to watching him this week and in the game.
What have you observed from Dane Jackson as he's come back here for this second tour of duty?
Yeah, I mean, Dane is a guy that has played a lot of snaps for us, and we've got a lot of belief in Dane, and he's one of our guys, right? Smart, tough, good football player overall, and he competes every day like it's his last, and he's done that since the first day he came in as a rookie here. So he continues to show us that on the field.
Did you see improvement from Landon Jackson within that game on Sunday, just learning from maybe some miscues early on?
From game 1 to game 2, you mean?
Yeah, that, and even within the Bears game.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the answer is yes. I would say more from game 1 to game 2 in the jump that he made. Bless you. He wasn't really, call it tested, but, definite improvement. Saw him beginning to kind of just play more free. And for some of these guys, the thinking starts to get involved as opposed to just playing. And that's the journey of a rookie season a little bit too. So, but I saw improvement definitely from game 1 to game 2.
Coach, as you continue to evaluate the safety room, how have you seen Taylor Rapp step up as a leader playing next to multiple guys?
Yeah, I mean, he's been steady. That's that's T. Rapp. He's incredibly routine focused, and he goes about his business. He gets in here early, and he stays until he needs to stay. But he's just a unique person in the way that he embraces his teammates, all of them, not just the guy that's playing alongside of him. And he was on that journey in his career earlier, so I think he can relate, and that helps build that rapport with multiple guys back there.
Sean, after watching the film, what was the take on Joey Andreessen against the pass on Sunday night, and how comfortable are you with him as the potential likely backup middle role?
Yeah, probably not one of Joe's best games. I think, but you go back to, okay, what do we know about Joe, right? Everyone has these kind of off games from time to time, and I think the important thing is how you handle it, right? And how you handle it sets yourself up for finding your next great game, like he's had, and he's had a few of them. So we remain confident in Joe, and I'm excited about watching him this week reset from what he experienced this past weekend.